of the things that they do. But anyway, you get focus spell, you get 1 point, and then as you level up in feats you take, you can get up to 3. But basically, that's cast per day of your focus spell. And your focus spell are these ones. Now, at level 6 or 7 or 8, you can choose to take the second level focus spell, and it's completely radically different spell.
Oh, that's cool.
So, but
You can regain focus points
on short rests.
but I think you have to be at 0 focus points.
No, that's not my understanding.
Intro real quick. Welcome back to Tabletop Troops. We're here once again. We're doing something a little different today. I'm over here sitting on the couch area.
Like a loser.
Like these losers.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, today we're gonna talk a little, compare Pathfinder and D&D a little bit. We got myself. I call myself the host. It's my house that we're doing this, right? Practically I'm hosting. You two are expert witnesses.
Witnesses to what?
Pathfinder expert, Kyle.
Yeah, I ran half the beginner's guide.
Kyle's the only one who's actually played so far, or even ran it.
Yeah.
And Jordan is our expert.
Everything else.
Expert douche.
Nice. Gotta be something. Gotta be something.
Yes.
Could be expert in anything.
So yeah. Anyways, you guys can shoot. Like we were just sort of like talking about stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I thought this would be a good way to capitalize on Jordan's ramblings as content.
Never.
But still, he insists on wasting material on Kyle before I click record. So you heard a little
You gotta be faster on the record button, is from what I'm understanding. So.
It's very compelling stuff. I can't say it again though.
No. The main thing is we're thinking about switching from D&D 5e to Pathfinder.
I don't know, switching.
Well, at least trying it in a different.
Dipping the toe in, definitely.
I like the idea of switching. There's some stuff I like about Pathfinder.
I have a feeling that once you start playing it, you're going to be like your toe, and then you're going to be over your neck.
Like just mentioning
all this wasted like space in my head that's
it's not wasted.
Encyclopedic knowledge.
It's not wasted. These games are completely almost similar. You don't waste anything. You do have to learn new things. But
the thing is, it's like D&D 5e. The best way I can compare it to Pathfinder is Pathfinder's like an advanced version of D&D 5e.
Yeah, but everything feels so much better. To me, D&D characters and that sort of thing are all super generic, kind of homogenized, at least within their own classes.
Yeah.
Pathfinder's not that. I was just talking about the sorcerer and like comparing the sorcerer to how it feels in 5e. We're talking about just base books. We're not talking about advanced books. We're not talking expanded things. And sorcerer is like amazing. There's 100 sorcerers in there. They're all cool. I can see you playing all of them. Maybe you play for 5 years of this game and never play a class that's not a sorcerer. You can still play completely unique characters that are brilliant. 5e's like, I get a sorcerer, I get some spell points, and that's it. I'm done. You know, that's
most
to me the difference.
The 5e, if you're a fighter and I'm a fighter, or you're a barbarian, I'm a barbarian, or a cleric, you're basically gonna play the same. Sure, you might use a two-handed weapon, and I might be mainly spell casting, but we're gonna have like 90% of our stuff is just gonna flat overlap.
Yeah,
it's identical.
Flat overlap. If you're a rogue, you could be a sword rogue, I could be a bow rogue, and we're still both gonna say evasion every round.
It's basically your playstyle is defined by your class.
Right.
And I think, from what I've seen so far, like, we're really new to Pathfinder. It seems like you get so much choices, like different skill feats and different class feats, different ancestry feats. It seems like you could have a party of everyone being human fighters, just going in with human fighters, and by the time you're like level 2 or 3, you probably made so many different decisions than one of the other guys in your party. You guys could be completely different. You might have focused in charisma and have demoralized, and that you're kind of like the face of the party. He might have focused in dexterity and he's a little bit more bow. This guy might have went sword and shield, and then he can focus on shield block and resisting damages and tanking.
All within the same class.
All within the same class.
That's not even mentioning that you can be a number of different races.
Yeah.
You don't all need to be human. And the fact that human at level 1 has 4 different choices for your feat. You're like, and then there's a lot of different classes, and there's sub races for almost all the races, including human. So like, there's
which actually makes big difference. Like there, in Pathfinder, your race impacts your hit points.
Yeah, I love that. It's good.
Goblin, there was a whole bunch of different goblins. There's one of the toughest races in the game is one of the sub races of goblins.
Right.
So you get a D10 hit points right at level 1 if you take this particular sub race of goblin. And the resistances are so much better in Pathfinder. Instead of just saying, you're a red dragonborn, you resist fire. So if I hit you with a fireball and does 40 damage, you only take 20. Instead, Pathfinder assigns a number, which is similar to 4th edition, which 4th edition gets shit on, but I think 4th edition was a really balanced game.
There's at least some really good ideas in it.
So, like, you resist fire too. So if you step into a small burning fire, you might take no damage.
Exactly.
But if I hit you with a fireball, you're only taking 2 less damage.
Right.
So, like, to me, that makes a lot more sense, and then your character's resistance.
I know, it makes sense. So if I, what a high-level fire spell? I was going to say disintegrate, but I always think that's fire, but it's not. But let's say a big...
Firestorm, Firewall, there's Firewall.
Any of these spells hit you, and you take half that damage, right? Versus a firebolt where you might only take 12 damage, or 10 damage, or whatever it is. And you take half that, that's like 5 damage reduction, versus the big one is 55 damage reduction, right? It doesn't make sense to scale that way. Whereas if you've got 5 fire resistance in Pathfinder, you take 5 less damage. That's basically the same result from a firebolt. But it expands as you get higher level. The higher level spells are still more powerful, but you can also get more resistance somehow, and then be more resistant to it, and it opens up role play things because I could potentially not take low points of damage. I read the goblin. There's a type of goblin.
A cold one, I know for sure.
There's a heat one too.
There's a heat one too.
Yeah, he doesn't have the same like element or environmental resistance, but he had like fire resistance, right? So he passively has 5 fire resistance. So he could maybe walk through a fire, cook food without any kind of heat resistance. You could do that stuff because you just don't take damage. In 5e, by technicality, anytime you look at a fire, you're still going to take half damage, so it can still kill you. And that to me is a weakness. It's interesting. This is more interesting that way.
I gotta defend D&D a little bit here. I'll hard defend D&D to my last day, and I feel like part of like you were talking about how like you can play so many different the same class, but they all feel like a little bit different. But I feel like at the same time, like throughout all the classes, you kind of feel like you kind of get a feeling of like this being the same because you're built on just like feats that do similar stuff.
In D&D, I agree. The rogue, or the barbarian and the fighter might be the best example of samey, other than saying rage once in a while. But the rogue is also a lot like the fighter. Every class tends to be the same-ish. Say attack, move on to your next turn. Unless you're a wizard who's casting a spell, which probably is fireball anyway.
Yeah, well, that's sort of the different, like the huge uniqueness that you feel between a martial and a spellcaster in D&D is like one of the things that I really like, rather than like them feeling like sort of more.
Well, there's still
you like feeling that you're useless as a martial character. And
I like knowing that the martial characters are useless and I'm god powerful because I'm a spell.
I don't know. I think casters are still powerful. They're still the skeleton key that the fighter can't be. He's got spells that can solve problems and manipulate people ways that they can't. So they're still powerful. They're just in combat not as powerful, which is good because balance is important.
Sort of like what I don't know a whole. I haven't delved at almost. I haven't seen.
I read Sorcerer and I read about 3 races.
But sort of from your descriptions of it, I sort of kind of get 4E like from it, be like kind of assuming that a lot of things are
it's more
based
like
off of
5E with 4E ideas.
Spells aren't abilities.
No. 4E, the fighter and the wizard are identical.
Yeah.
It's just what you want to focus on. Like the wizard will get more controlling effects, the fighter would get more like push, pull, tanking abilities and stuff. It's just when you look at the paper, it's like I have an at-will that does 3 weapons. He has an at-will that does 3d6. That it's basically the same thing. Pathfinder, you still have the like 5e. The marshals will still feel martially.
And spells still exist.
Spells still feel like spells.
They're not abilities. You're literally...
You still get what's called class features, and this would be like similar to like in 5e when you pick your subclass, which is usually the only choice you ever get to make.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Pathfinder, you get these class features like every couple levels, so you get to pick these different ways to hone and build the type of fighter,
I
type of rogue you
to
want.
Kyle before we started recording that the sorcerer got 3 levels of bloodline spells, right? And you get the first one passively, but about level 6 or something like that, you get the choice of a feat, or one of the feats you pick is 2 or 3 choices, and one of the 3 choices is to unlock the second level of your spellcasting. Now, I'm not sure if that means that you can't get the third one by skipping it, but the point is, you only get one choice of these 3 or 4 levels of feats. And if you choose not to take that one to get the second level of your caster thing, you might have took a different ability that's pretty powerful because they're pretty cool, but you miss out on that. And so that completely could radically change you into something different. I think that kind of design is really compelling to me. And
my understanding too is there's a lot of feats to choose, there's a lot of options, but there's not a lot of feats, or almost none, that directly just give you more damage. So by them not existing, it allows you to take more situational feats that might indirectly give you more damage. Like, there's one I'll use as an example. It lets you pull 2 weapons out when you take your action to draw your weapon. So if you're dual wielding, it would take you 1 action to pull a weapon, 1 action to pull a weapon, you only have 1 action left. Where this feat would let you pull both weapons with 1 action, so indirectly it gave you another action you could use to make an attack. So indirectly it did increase your damage, but like the feat as written didn't give you any.
I did see that sorcerer had a fair amount of ways to increase their raw damage.
So the ones I've been looking for in the
that might just
you
be
make
a
the
damage
fighter.
related class. And there's these roles I think are a little more defined in Pathfinder than they are in D&D. But yeah, I think it could be that you're looking at a tankier class, and the tankier
I looked
class
at
is
the
tankier.
fighter and the rogue and the cleric, I think was the other one they played. So that's helping them like build their characters for the beginner's box.
Call me up when Pathfinder has a movie, alright? Pathfinder's got no more.
I just
Point at the camera and tell people, go watch the movie. Get over all these tears about all the things wrong with D&D. This movie was amazing. If you like D&D, if you like fantasy, watch this movie.
If you like Guardians of the Galaxy, this is a lot.
I don't like this.
Galaxy.
It's a tragedy that this movie is doing as poorly as it is on the box office, because it truly is a classic.
Just broke even worldwide.
Did it? Well,
Worldwide.
I mean, worldwide. I'm happy. Maybe we'll get a second one if worldwide means something to these guys, but
I don't like Rotten Tomatoes isn't the end all be all to me, especially the critics score. But the critics and the audience are both in the high 90s on it. So
it's just it's really good. I haven't seen a movie quite as good as that in years.
I know Mario is making like 3 times as much money.
Yeah, Mario's on week 2 or 3 and made another $87 million.
I wasn't even a huge fan of Mario. Like,
I didn't see it, but I'm
like
to.
the family movie.
The thing with movies now is that it's got to be memeable. Like, the movie has to be memeable, or else it doesn't get the money in the box office.
Mario should be memeable.
Mario is memeable, and that's why it made the money.
D&D
should be memeable.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, the one his face was melting. Would be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff.
When he's the scene where they're talking to the undead people, that's pretty good.
I mean, I like even the one with the Eric Croker in the beginning. That was good shit.
What's that lich's name? Was it
Zastam?
Zastam? He was freaking sick.
Did they actually say his name? I couldn't remember if they said his name.
They did a lot.
Yeah, I mean, they got a movie. They got the second one set up.
When you see the supposedly Zastam speaking to Sophia, does she ever refer to him as Zastam?
She might just call him her master or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm assuming it was meant to be him.
I think she does. Yeah.
But that was cool. That was
the scene in Faye was sick too, when he like does the conch thing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
The floating was a little uneery, like when he floats up, it kind of looks like he's being picked up by a wire.
Yeah,
And it kind of makes
No judge.
weird, but
Sometimes it's think
Overall,
have you ever flown before? Do you know what it would look like?
Yeah, I do actually.
Okay, good for him.
I'm assuming you didn't walk to Kenya when you went to Kenya.
Yeah, right.
You had to have flew.
Yeah.
Just walk to Kenya, alright.
But yeah, now D&D. It's iconic. I play D&D for the memes, man.
It's got the whole Kleenex
show me Pathfinder memes. Doesn't have
Pathfinder's not big enough yet, but it's going to be because D&D.
The one thing that should sell you is just look at a Pathfinder goblin in comparison to a D&D.
Pathfinder goblins are so cool. I read their blurbs.
What specifically does the change to the OGL mean for the D&D community?
Well, they backtracked a lot of the crap that they first originally come out with.
Well,
I just read something before, and it said originally they said that all things that like use the OGL have to report their earnings to Wizards of the Coast directly.
Like 50 grand or something, and give them so much.
What they have said, walking that back, is that there will be no royalties paid on that, but you still have to report your earnings.
Yeah,
I think you can subvert all of that or subvert all of that now because they released it in the Creative Commons, which once it's in Creative Commons, anybody can use it to do whatever they want.
The
SRD.
Yeah.
It's the big thing now is what are they going to do with 5.5 or whatever you want to call it, 6E? They're not really calling it 6E because they keep saying it's backwards compatible. But they're changing how the base structure of classes work. So if clerics get subclasses at level 3 now, opposed to clerics at level 1, if you and me roll clerics up and I'm using the original, like, pre-patch D&D cleric and I get my subclass bonus at 1 and you have to wait 2 or 3 levels, there's an inherent power difference there.
And low level is a level range that should be interesting. I mean, Pathfinder presumably looks like it could be interesting. D&D's
are definitely more survivable.
D&D's level 1, 2, 3 is like flipping a coin to see how many characters die.
Here's the problem with D&D. The game only works from about level 3 to 7.
There you go. That's pretty much the range. Yeah.
After you get past 7, your characters get so strong that the fights have to be challenging, unless you're going to run 17 encounters in a 24-hour period.
It's not reasonable.
Then enjoy your campaign because you're not going to get anything ever done, and you're never going to develop a story. So what ends up happening is you go with the 1 to 2, maybe 3 encounters, but these blockbuster cinematic climax encounters have to be so deadly to pose a threat to the players that you get into this window where if the players roll bad a few too many times, or the monsters roll a little bit too good too many times.
I mean, we had an encounter the other night where we went into a church, like a evil cultist church, and basically 2 people in the party or 3 people in the party went one way to look at one door, and the other 2 people went the other way to look at another door. I was one of the people to look at the other door. So I checked the door, opened the door, and there's 2 enemies there, like top type guys, and they shoot me with spells right off the bat. And that's not a problem. That's the way the game goes, right? But he rolled good. He rolled like 2 or 3 high rolls, and you hit me for like 16 to 30 damage in less than
level 3,
five. I have 50 HP, which is actually pretty thick for the part that we have.
Max.
Yeah,
we were trying giving max hit points instead of the average on the dice for your hit dice.
The point is that
in level,
order for a single monster encounter, or in this case a single monster plus 1 that escaped an encounter before, to be dangerous, they have to hit hard. So he hits me 2 or 3 times quickly, and my character is just about face down, and before that battle was done, I was face down, and
two people got knocked.
Yeah, my sidekick character too, but anyway, so me twice, I guess. But the point is, that's a party,
a 4-man, 5-man basically, because your other guy.
But he was in bed.
5-man party of 5, and you just come from an encounter, but you had your short rest, so you were at basically full hit points.
Yeah, that was a pretty dead.
And that was against a CR6. Now I tweaked the monster stat block a little bit to make it fit a little better because the creature I wanted wasn't an exact, like I used this template and then changed the typings of stuff to have it more thematically accurate. But it just shows you how flimsy it is. Like, this shouldn't have been a challenging
just
fight.
like that, you get 2 or 3 hits quickly, and you did like a kind of an area effect attack too.
Yeah.
And the party was looking bad, but we won, and I don't think it was particularly a dangerous win. It's just that the party was in bad shape.
I took the Medusa stat block, and I substitute the glare and the poison stuff they did for a more fiery based theme. And so I turned the damage down to make it kind of like equivalent to like 1 Scorching Ray. I think it was like 2d6.
Yeah.
And so they have this thing that when you like start your turn, and then if you're looking at them, you do a save and you get petrified. So I changed it to the snakes like just shooting fire at them to put this more fiery theme. But I tweaked her damage, so like instead of her having a longbow, which I always thought was strange, she's just shooting fire and stuff. So you're really just moving the damage types from poison or piercing to fire, which opens up, like if you guys had a lot of resistance to fire, like absorb elements or something, it gives you that option.
So the bigger
making
point
it easy
was that you made an encounter like this, and I don't know how you like D&D shifts. I don't know how you intended for us to originally encounter her, but we encountered her almost by herself, and she gets off a few pot shots and really sets the party back quite a bit. And that's not a deadly built encounter. The encounter we did up in the church was
a medium encounter.
Deadly, exactly. And that's just because of lucky rolls and that sort of thing. So, and it kind of has to be built that way.
The encounter upstairs, the final boss encounter, was a CR7 sorcerer spell.
So that was the final boss encounter.
And he had three or four CR, I believe they were 2s or 3s. There's like cloaker-like things, but they're not cloakers. They're from the Grim Hollow thing. I can't remember what they were called. But they're kind of like the cloaker creature. And the way they attack people, so like they hide up in the rafters. So I got the idea, instead of telling the players that they were there, let them roll a perception check. If they fail the perception check, when the thing is swooping down, it would have like the advantage and do like kind of like one quick attack on them. And then when the player goes, they're like, oh, one flew out of the ceiling, I want to do a perception check. And then I just based off their stealth. And I can't remember if anyone actually spotted them before they attacked.
I don't know if they did.
But the thing that, this goes back to the rolling, they can sting you with this stinger, and then if you fail, it puts you to sleep.
Yeah.
And everybody just made their saves on that.
You probably hit us 6 or 7 times with it throughout the battle, and we saved it every time. It wasn't like easy saves. They were like Sierra 13 or ET 13 or so, which is a con class. My guy's a fighter, just okay.
A con class should make it,
but there's
a neutral class. You're looking at a 50-50.
We got a druid,
a druid.
I mean, and these
a rogue.
And they were all hit once or twice, and they just rolled good. So they took that out of the fight. And
so this thing like hits you with this sleep thing, and then it starts sucking your life and healing them. So, but they made the save on it every time.
But I mean, think about the encounter. If you attack on your first hit and knock someone to sleep, right?
Yeah.
And then we either have to recover by waking that person or doing something to help us, or we could see people die quickly, because sleep would be coup de grace, right? It's very dangerous situation.
It's kind of a cool thing, because if the party goes over to kill the cloaker, or it's not a cloaker, I keep calling it a cloaker, but it's a different name.
This bat thing.
Half the damage goes to the person it's connected to.
Oh.
So if the thing has 50 hit points, you hit it for 50, it takes 25. The damage, or it takes the 50, sorry, and then the partner takes 25. So you might knock out your partner by killing the creature on it.
Yeah.
Or you go over and you can use your action to like basically break its grapple, and then you pull the stinger.
That's an example of an encounter that can go
quick,
like really quick. Let's snowball to death. But I mean, pass a few saves, and we walked over and
you made three or four 50-50 saves.
And and after we did that, we went and kind of blitzed the ball.
He didn't have a lot of hit points, but
I mean, it was a decent distance away. If we hadn't been impeded more by the
stinking cloud that I dropped on you,
we did a couple good things.
Yeah.
And we dispelled the magic blood circle.
Yeah.
And, anyway, it's not as good for the people that
Yeah.
that don't know what happened. There was some good stuff that happened.
That was smart by Kenny.
That was great. That was great. I loved that. It was excellent.
He was going to use that to like shoot multiple different damaging, like AoE damaging spells.
Yeah, didn't do that. So I just shoot him a few times.
Yeah, those are the good like when you come up with something out of the box to make
I can think of
something like a lot better, like to turn the tide in your favor.
Just like bragging up, like we were doing 5th edition stuff.
Oh.
All the monsters that I didn't homebrew were from a Grim Hollow, not Wizards of the Coast product.
Good point. And they're built for
Wizards of the Coast products I had to homebrew to use to make them do anything interesting.
So,
but
go back to the OGL.
Yes.
What sort of things? What things are like considered? Like what would you have to like? Wizards
it's basically on the rules.
Like this, with this. If we made money on this, which we don't, but.
I don't think so, but we're talking about a gray area where basically everything that goes on YouTube and the internet could technically be copyright claimed by the company that it's from. So anything that you streamed, Pokemon, I think you've done that a few times, or there's a couple other games, by lawful right, I believe these companies can sting you for that.
They have on my YouTube channel. They claimed my Pokemon videos on my YouTube channel just for the original soundtrack on the games.
But even with the soundtrack, I think there's technical laws that they own the right to it.
Yeah.
But
I think this other YouTuber too. He was just looking at the pictures of the Pokemon and he got claimed for it. Yeah. He was doing a Smash. He was doing Smash.
But from my understanding,
Markiplier, nice. Yeah.
If you it's bad. It looks bad for the company to do that too many times to especially more seeing people, and they like the exposure they get from YouTubers and people like doing things like us. So it's hard for them, even though by right they technically could claim a lot of it.
5th edition,
it's not great for them to do so.
With moving that stuff to the Creative Commons, I think you're pretty well in the clear.
Well,
as long as you're not trying to claim their stuff as your own, you're probably not going to have any problems.
So like the idea, like.
But they just moved their stuff in the Creative Commons. That's because of the fan outrage from this OGL draft, which is it a draft? They call it a draft, but they were giving it to people to sign as a legal document. Is it a draft? Anyway, you're dealing with some jargon there.
The big thing, though, as I understand, is that like things like Grim Hollow. Or like
wouldn't be allowed to be produced.
Like along those lines, like people making adventures or content for it.
Now
they can now.
Can now,
the Creative Commons.
What you were talking about before.
As long as they do it for 5th edition. The thing is, nobody knows what they're going to do with the new edition.
Right.
They keep not calling it a new edition. If they keep calling it 5th edition, and they say this is a revised 5th edition. I don't know what that's going to do to the Creative Commons.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand, because if I create a cleric subclass right now, if I create it based off of the 5th edition rules that we're using and use that leveling template and go publish it, all I got to do is put this D&D 5e thing on it. Like, there's stuff that you have to show that, like, I'm using this from Creative Commons. I do that, I can put it on ttrpg or wherever and sell it and make money, and that's all good. But if this revised D&D 5e, if it falls under a new thing, if it doesn't get put in the Creative Commons or it doesn't get put in a new open gaming license, I don't know what you'll be able to do.
It's possible that that's their plan. They backed up on 5th edition because they knew they were going to get what they wanted in the next edition, and people would complain less if it was already taken.
My theory is they are leaning very hard in the virtual tabletop direction, and they want to have it run through D&D Beyond. So they might make it so that if you want to create stuff, you're going to want it to be on the VTT.
Right.
Therefore, you're going to have to create it through whatever rules they get to let you use.
Claim anyway.
Which could be good, could be bad. I know, like, there's Drive-Thru-RPG and the DM's Guild. I think it's the DM's Guild. Wizards of the Coast takes like 50% of what you make on it, but they promote stuff. So, like, you kind of take the good with the bad. If I was to make something that got put on D&D Beyond and everybody that had D&D Beyond seen it and could buy it, I'll probably give it to more people.
Yeah, you might do better that way, especially if it's good content. Yeah.
The thing is, with the open gaming license originally, the wording on that stuff was killer because, like, Wizards of the Coast would take whatever you create. They would have the right to sell it and change it. You couldn't sue them. You couldn't counter anything.
They basically
you make it,
own it.
They own it.
Because they own the core rules.
Yeah.
And
So there's a lot of stuff that like people that make a living off D&D were like freaking out about. Now a lot of that, their horns got pulled back in. They threw it in the Creative Commons as a sign of goodwill.
But I still don't think D&D has recovered particularly well from that.
No, that just look,
situation.
Pathfinder sold out of their warehouse.
It's still doing
in weeks.
good.
They sold. They had no books, no core rule books in there.
I wonder if that didn't have a part to play with why the D&D movie didn't do as well as I think it should, which is a great
I've
movie.
seen a lot of boycotting it.
It is a
like
great movie, and you have to
boycott.
get over it and watch that movie because it's still great. But
The question is, like, would we have switched to Pathfinder? Maybe. We played 5th edition a lot.
my
and
honest,
there's a
my
lot I
honest
don't like
thoughts of
about
that
it.
is that we would never have switched ever because we wouldn't have a reason to. I played the Pathfinder video game, both of them,
Kingmaker
and
Just Righteous.
yeah, Wrath of the Righteous.
Righteous.
And then I think you played both of them
Yeah.
to some degree too. And
Not as much as you do, but
not as much, but I love them. I think
I
they're
love
great. They're playing under the original Pathfinder rule set, not the new one. But they're pretty damn good.
there's miles of difference between PF1 and PF2.
Exactly. But I personally would have loved to have attempted it and tried it. But
But we've tried other systems.
I know
We've
we
played
have.
Call of Cthulhu.
But
We've tried Fate.
the people, they seem to know D&D, and that was
Yeah.
less likely to happen. And I'm not against that. That was okay.
I was this close to going back 4th edition.
Yeah, I would have liked to like 4th edition too in some ways. But
You don't understand. Like,
but
4th edition works.
that push, that gaming license push that opened everyone's eyes to Pathfinder, I was already kind of interested, and then when that happened, all the other people I knew started showing some interest. That's why we're changing, but I think that there's no way we would have ever considered switching or even attempting it if it didn't come to this.
The one thing Pathfinder has an extreme edge over D&D, I think, is they have a thing called Path Builder, which is almost equivalent to D&D Beyond, and it's 100% free, and it's got all of their source character options, and it's 100% free. And you can use it to build a character.
Back to the OGL, right? Because the D&D owns that, Wizards owns that, they can
It's
tell.
legal.
Yeah, they can tell these companies to not. What was the one? Work Pub, which was brilliant. They basically killed.
Fight Club.
Yeah, they killed them because they didn't like them because they want you to be on D&D Beyond. Because Pathfinder has an open, or whatever their equivalent is, their game is open and it should be forever.
Their license they're working on is called the Orc.
Yeah, well, that's what they're called, but already it's out there.
Yeah.
But the point is that these
They
companies.
published it under the OGL though.
Yeah, but but these companies can legally create any content they want with it, assuming they're just sharing content. The only rights that I believe Pathfinder claims that they'll allow people to use is the actual lore and the characters.
Right. Yes.
But
But like the raw mechanics, you
yeah,
want
they
to know,
encourage it.
Yeah.
What's that? The Miffle something's vault or something? Pathfinder literally feeds this website information, and they make it easy access to them, and they make a database, kind of like a wiki, but maybe a little bit better.
How do you value the existence and the rich storytelling of the Forgotten Realms as like switching to Pathfinder?
you can use the Forgotten Realms.
You can, but I mean, if you play those games I mentioned earlier, and you do that just for a few minutes, and you understand that Galeria is an incredibly deep place, at least as deep as D&D, maybe not as old, but it's truly amazing. And you can do just as much, and it's as good a lore as the alternative.
There's no like books or like published
You mean novels like the story books, or just campaigns?
I mean like campaigns in the Forgotten Realm published for Pathfinder.
No. But Pathfinder, I'm pretty sure, has some things they've released that are 5th edition compatible. Like they've converted to 5.
The Forgotten Realms thing would fall under both licenses, and they probably wouldn't be allowed to do that because it follows under D&D's license.
So right now we're playing in Grim Hollow. Now the only thing is I got to get more familiar with Pathfinder before I want to start converting things. The thing I'm concerned about, but online, everyone says it's easier to homebrew for Pathfinder than 5th edition. Because of how well balanced Pathfinder is, you will have a plethora of things to compare it to.
I can see that.
I'm unsure of that because 5th edition, I've homebrewed a shit ton of stuff for 5th edition.
I feel like what makes it easy to homebrew for 5th edition though is that it can be a little bit powerful. Like for D&D characters, and you don't have to worry about like catastrophe.
Pathfinder can be powerful too. I don't see why it couldn't be. I mean, I understand.
Pathfinder seems a little maybe more touchy with the numbers because of the +10, -10.
I know, but that's also why I think they think it's easier to brew for. It's because if you know that my character is a level 10 and the level 10 monsters they're fighting have +10s because they're level 10, all I need to do is plug a +10 into whatever I brew up, and it's already halfway there, right? So,
the one thing that I've noticed that I don't really know how I feel about it, but in 5e, if you're a level 20 character, there's still a chance that 1,000,000 goblins can kill you. There's still a chance, because I roll 1,000,000 d20s, I'm going to get enough critical hits, there's a theoretical chance that I will kill you with 1,000,000 goblins.
it's possible.
Pathfinder using the +10, -10. If you are a level 20th Pathfinder character, the goblins will not add enough that even with a natural 20, won't be able to hit you.
Right.
Pathfinder uses this scale where you under no circumstance should be fighting things 4 levels lower than you or 4 levels higher than you. And
Is that a good thing?
is it a good thing? I don't know.
I don't know.
But
I mean, if
Should you be able to kill a million goblins?
no,
Right.
probably never. But I mean, it's easy to brew for too. If you want your guys to fight goblins and have them be meaningful, all you got to do is brew those goblins, give them a +20 instead of a +10.
You can, I believe it's an optional rule, say that a nat 20 counts as a critical success.
Right.
But in the standard rules, a nat 20 is not a
I'm just
critical
saying that
success.
you
It
could-
improves your success rate by 1. Now, saying that's the same, if I'm willing to homebrew that, I was willing to homebrew a potion as a bonus action. They're equivalent, like, simple things that you can do. We'll try it out, we'll see what we like. But if you use, like, raw, rules as written, my understanding is there's no way those goblins can kill you.
True. That's true. I mean, that is
Now,
kind of a problem.
the other side of the coin, a level 1 character can kill a Tarrasque in D&D 5e, a CR 30. All he needs to do is have an uncommon magic broom and a cantrip, and he can kill a Tarrasque.
Given enough time, yep.
That's stupid. That should never, ever, 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 ever happen.
And I don't believe it can happen in
In Pathfinder, it can't happen.
Yeah.
So that I like, but the others, I don't know completely what my strong feelings is there. It's just something that I found interesting. And Pathfinder, the stuff you're good at, you're really good at. You might add 20 to a check. The stuff you're not good at, you might not add anything.
I think
So
that's
DCs will get to a point where the stuff you're not good at, you'll never be able to succeed. And I like it from the angle of, I've always thought it was stupid that the barbarian goes to kick the door open, he rolls low, can't kick the door
The
open.
gnome comes and does
The
it.
gnome wizard comes up, rolls a nat 20, and kicks the door open. I've never liked that from a thematic angle. I'm cool with the barbarian trying to kick the door open and he can't kick it open, and then the wizard blows it off with a spell. That's cool.
It's cool.
I like the success with the twist angle of the barbarian kicks the door open, he rolled bad. I let him kick the door open, but because he failed the check, there's a side effect. He alerted the people on the other side. Maybe he hurt his leg, maybe his speed's
But
reduced.
even tripping the
Who
door.
knows? He might fall prone and then roll combat in the first turn he's prone.
Yeah.
Because I like the thematic angle of classes doing what they're supposed to do. That player wanted to kick the door open. That's why he tried to kick it open. The gnome just showed him up because he rolled better.
Wasn't there a bard element?
Going back to your level 1 can beat a Tarrasque. I think that's a problem with the Tarrasque. It's like not having any range.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Monster.
Okay, we could still do the same thing. A million guards could kill a Tarrasque.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's anything that doesn't have immunity to non-magic.
I'm not sure that Tarrasque is the only monster that could be beaten that way either. There's probably multiples. Does a Kraken have a ranged attack?
Probably not.
So I mean, they have
It's got like lightning something.
maybe not a different story. So I mean,
But it could be an owlbear. But it's a CR 4 or 5 or something. But
Yeah, it is true. It is true that enough people can take down anything that doesn't have immunity and not magical damage, which I think should be given away a lot more in D&D.
I mean,
But at
even
the
the
same time,
I
it doesn't mean a lot to the actual characters.
It means nothing to them.
Because if you have it, you have it, and then you have it forever. So like it's sort of like when that happens,
I really dislike how having a +1 longsword answers all problems.
yeah.
Right.
It's never. I've tried it in the Grim Hollow with like silvered weapons and iron weapons, trying to make them more usable. But you run into a weird angle of if the players can't get silvered weapons, then you've artificially just doubled this creature's hit points.
Yep.
If I give everybody a silver weapon, why did I bother putting this unique feature on the creature? So it's one of those things. Do you give the players time to prep, and then they have the choice to get the silver weapon? They're like, no, I don't want a silver weapon. Then they've caused their own problem, and then they can deal with it. Or do you just go back and say, well, that's why they let +1 beat all that, because once you get to the level where you get a +1 sword, you probably could have got a silvered weapon or an iron weapon or whatever. And
I feel like with those cases, they should make it like immune to non-magical, resist magical, and then like silvered or adamantine or whatever it is.
Because I've always liked the idea of I'm a fighter, I can use every weapon in the book, but I'm really only going to use whatever the best weapon is.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I have a +5 flaming longsword, but this thing is resisting all of my damage, maybe I use my +2 silver battle axe.
Yeah, we've seen
or just a silver battle axe.
I mean, I've done it in battles in the past that you have a weapon like a +3 sword or something really strong, right? And you use that as your go-to weapon, but you have a weapon that does, I don't know, acid damage or something, and the guy you're fighting is weak to it. And then if you really crunch the numbers, you're getting more damage and maybe more hit rating from this acid weapon, right?
With the exception of the troll and maybe the Hydra.
Yeah.
You almost don't really need a specific damage type.
Yeah.
Now, I like the witcherizing, to steal a quote from Ben Burns, of monsters, where, like, the Witcher does a very good thing where you can track, you can study, you can learn the ins and outs of these monsters, and all these monsters have, like, a rock, paper, scissors kind of thing in them.
See, I think if the party doesn't have the monsters dropped on them, like we've rolled random encounters before, and troll shows up, and the party goes, we can't beat a troll.
Can't beat a troll.
Because we don't have the weapons to do it, and the troll just passively heals too much, and he is just going to kill us. So how do we deal with the troll? I think you guys fed him and he left. So anyway, that's a situation that came up. Now, I don't like that situation too much. I mean, it was an interesting situation that came up. It required role play. Anytime it required role play is a win. But you should have the chance or opportunity or knowledge to defeat monsters. So if you're told there's monsters out here, there's trolls out here, everyone should try to have something acid or something or whatever, or one guy needs it or that type of thing, then that's planning and that's good for the game. And if the troll shows up, then it's okay that matches the party. But if you're just rolling random encounters, I think there's a problem. So in a campaign or a setting, I think that's better. So if you want to do a silver weapon beats undeads or werewolves in a Grim Hollow campaign, because everyone is, your NPCs are talking about it, your people and your characters in the game are talking about it, everyone's talking about it, then maybe the party should hear, maybe we need something like that.
I got a good example.
Good. That's good.
I don't know how you guys liked it, but in the Horde of the Dragon Queen, I gave every dragon that was older than young, I think. I might have used young. I gave them a damage threshold where they ignored like 3 to 4 to 5 damage depending on how old it was, unless you had a dragon slaying weapon
or the feat that we ended up getting because of,
you got that through
slaying dragons. Yeah, I like the feat. Yeah,
I've always liked the angle of there's this mythical creature that we can't kill, but we have to go on a quest to go find the thing to help us beat the thing. And that's why this thing is so oppressive. Yes, if you had a full-scale army over enough time, you might be able to beat it down. But with these dragons having a threshold, the ancient dragon, I think, reduced damage by 7. Like, these guards are, with longbows, hardly ever are going to get through for damage.
I like it, but what I don't like in it, because I find it can be disengaging to some players. I mean, in the later we went, almost everyone ended up having it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I think was by design.
Yeah.
The one thing I have added is it ruins Monk.
No, we don't worry
the
about
fact that you chose Monk, you've ruined yourself.
Yeah, that's your fault.
That's your fault.
What are you doing? Are you even playing this
I
game?
don't understand.
We're sorry, Lauren.
If we gotta fix this game because monks suck, like, I'm sorry.
But I mean,
the fact, like, if you tell people nobody build a monk, but if you kind of spring it on them, it would suck to be that person. But I think what it does in the end, like, it does fix the flavor of like shitbag guards being able to take them down. It also just like pumps dragons up like that one more notch because eventually, like, through your level progression, you're gonna get to the point where even an ancient dragon is like a joke to you. So it just kind of brings it to the next level of. Like,
I will go back to the monk problem. A monk can still use weapons.
True.
So he can still find a dragon slaying weapon and then do his attacks. It won't help him for a flurry of blows, but.
I know.
And the sneaky thing is, you could find a dagger slaying dragon weapon and then roll it up with his martial arts stuff.
But you still suck.
Huh?
You still suck even with the dragon.
That is not our fault.
The threshold.
Yeah, but you still suck.
But that's because you're a monk.
That was your fault.
You're still a monk and a boy.
Well, that's a D&D problem. Monks and Pathfinder don't suck. But then again, I don't know that because I've never read Monk and Pathfinder. So we'll put that out there too.
I've got the results right here for who's the winner between D&D and Pathfinder.
Was there any votes?
There's points that I've assigned throughout.
That you've assigned. That you've already chose that you pro D&D over Pathfinder.
First, though, before we reveal the results,
he did say that, right?
We have to talk about the name of this podcast because we've not yet chosen a name for it. As you see in the title, it's called A Tabletop Troops Podcast.
Can you do polls?
I cannot do polls yet, but perhaps I'll do a poll on Twitter.
Maybe we should see the results.
Our following on Twitter.
Then we'll vote for the name depending on what Ethan said.
Oh, yeah, we had some names. Lauren suggested "fuck you, Jordan."
No, those only because I said
I thought it was Saul.
Our name should be everyone but Lauren. So I mean, this is what we were. So we
kind of were talking about keeping the TTT like thing, but I kind of like something else, and then we'll reference the fact that it is a tabletop troops production.
Franchise.
I like critical failures.
That was a good one
to like note the fact how much we suck.
I mean, I've seen Kyle roll double ones a lot of times on advantage. There was this one time.
He's a critical failure
with the dragon.
I'm pretty good as a DM rolling though, but as a player, I suck.
Yeah,
not like nat 1 on persuasion or nat 1 on performance.
That's way too long.
The dragon.
I like crit fail. What did I say? Crit fails, tails.
That's too long.
Yeah, I put that.
And emails.
Yeah.
I don't like that one.
They're gonna answer your fan emails, of course. Like you're stuck needing it.
You gotta reference that in the title of the podcast.
Tabletop topics.
What do we got?
That's pretty good.
I like it. FYJ for wearing that broom's hat. Okay.
Nice. Go Leafs, go.
I don't know what FYJ.
Try to get a playoff win. There you go.
I don't know either, but I mean,
Bruins, you got smoked.
Hey, Leafs, you got smoked and didn't even win a game.
Yeah, they're the Leafs.
Okay, fair enough.
Bruins have the best record in hockey. You got
you got the shit kicked out of them.
By the Panthers.
Omar didn't even stop a shot. The whole
Panthers don't beat anybody.
Back to business. Talk about how great the Bruins are afterwards.
Yeah, no, but I really like a crit fail sort of.
Crit fail's good.
I like critical failures as like the whole words. You mentioned being too close to someone else's name though.
It was pretty similar to someone else's name. If you've ever heard of crit something, it had something to do with rolling, I think. No.
I've never heard of that.
I like how critical failures though is kind of like
we've been there. We've been there.
An antithesis to critical role
Because
we suck.
I think we could take it down. They started with Pathfinder.
Did they?
Yeah.
Start with
That's brilliant.
But I don't think Pathfinder 2 was Pathfinder 1.
Critical Path? Fuck you, Jordan. That's the name.
Fuck you, Jordan, get 2 votes?
Yeah.
Nice. Make it 3.
The way I see it is fuck you, Jordan is just I'm the headline and the face of the franchise all of a sudden. And I mean, who else is the face of the franchise?
We'll have to get shirts made though, if that's our name.
Yeah, I like that. We'll keep that on the back burner.
Tabletop topics, tabletop.
I feel like we'll be talking a lot about
tabletop tropes. That's close to tabletop troops.
Is it too close?
It's too close.
Not close enough.
We're about to do top troops again.
I really like crit fail. I'm just afraid someone's going to Google us and then it's going to come critical roll and then they're just going to look at all that and they're just never going to pay attention.
I think we're an offshoot of critical role. I don't see that.
Or just some company, some group that's just really coattail riding, which we're not. We're not, definitely not. We're our own people, but they don't know that.
We've never lost any celebrity boxing matches.
Just some final thoughts on like what are some other good like some of your top tabletop systems like for future.
I loved Call of Cthulhu.
If D&D is dead, then what do we do?
Critical. Call of Cthulhu was amazingly fun, but I found, I ran it, they call it a keeper, but it's a game master, same thing. Unlike D&D, where whenever you get into that spot where you're unsure, I found in D&D it's so easier to come up with things off the top, or to like throw an encounter, which could be a fight, could be a room collapsing, anything. Where Call of Cthulhu, you can't really lean on that crutch of throwing in combat, because anytime there's a combat, you could kill somebody. Like, literally, death is so easy. And you really need to really prep. I think Call of Cthulhu, when I played it, I think I didn't... Like, did we set it in the 80s? I can't remember when we set the time.
I don't remember.
50s?
We didn't play it at any time, right? Just once or twice?
We only played it one night.
One night, yeah.
I bought the starter kit, and the starter kit has a solo game. I played that, and then the first mission that I got
killed.
you guys...
You get killed or something?
I ended the world.
I really like the Cthulhu, like,
Mythos.
genre and mythos.
I love Craft Country.
I really like how you're kind of just a guy, and you're kind of just around. I actually really like that. There's also the option of the pulp call.
Now, in hindsight, us coming from 5th edition and fantasy role-playing games, I believe pulp would be the way to go, because it gives the characters a few more feats, a few more abilities, and they feel more bulky. The way I heard it explained is Call of Cthulhu is like John Carpenter's The Thing. You're this thriller, it's like trying to figure out a mystery, and you could die at any time, really slow pace. Where Pulp Fiction is like The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. You go into a temple and they're shooting back and forth, and you're running before the thing gets collapsed, and some undead mummy is chasing you, and there's scarabs and you're getting attacked.
Yeah, I really like how there's both of those options. Like you can kind of take it a lot slower. The Pulp kind of seems like it'd be better for more one-shot-esque.
Yeah.
Whereas the regular one could be really drawn out. We played a little one, but I feel like it could be like a whole lot.
Call of Cthulhu lends itself to, you're not going to play the same character a long time, because you will get to the point where you'll just go insane, or you've seen too much shit and just retire. So like the players can enjoy playing a long drawn out thing. I think you're probably going to want to play like for like maybe 6 months and then say that's your campaign, and then you could keep it going and advance 6 months into the future or a year into the future or whatever. But I don't think you're beholden to the 20s or 40s or 50s I think you can play in any setting. It's just you got to watch the technology, because Call of Cthulhu, especially the book I'm in that I was running out of, it really assumes that travel is super hard and that you don't have easy access to a smartphone. So I was like, I don't know anything about the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I know nothing. So it's like, I probably would have been better off setting it even in the 90s, and then I would have a little bit more of just the knowledge of what the world was like in the 90s. And then you still travel's a lot easier in the 90s, obviously, than the 50s, but it's still not super.
I'm not sure Ethan could play in the 90s. It's before his time.
I don't think Ethan was alive in the 90s.
That's what I'm saying. It's before his time.
Or were you born 99?
98.
You were 98?
98.
Can't remember the 90s, but anyways, the final results. I think it's pretty unanimous. D&D has 69 points.
I mean, he did it on purpose. It's
and it turns out
Pathfinder's got 420.
Pathfinder has 420 points, getting the win by a large margin. I think we decided Pathfinder is good, but those 69 points came directly from me. You guys hate on D&D too much.
I'll tell you right now,
D&D,
I think if you've never played a role-playing game in the world, if I had to choose between Pathfinder and 5e, I would choose 5e.
I think 5e is
no
a
question.
very digestible game. It's very easy to understand. It's great for people to jump into things that you've never done before, and it's fun.
Coming from, we've played it so long, I think we just want a little more out of the system. Yeah. I think Pathfinder will provide that.
Honestly, my opinion, in the end, there's lots of debates about different systems and which is better, and lots of gatekeeping, but I think in the end it's about telling a story with your friends and having a system to do that. Honestly, in my opinion, doesn't matter what system. As long as it's about the story.
People said that 4th edition didn't have any role playing in it, and this game is based on role playing the whole game. Anything you decide,
you're in charge of your role play.
So any game can fit any system can fit.
The last thing I'll say on it is, what do you find there being value in having a rule for everything versus you having to come up with stuff all the time? If you like I don't care about being consistent and I'm okay with just winging things off the top of my head, then maybe 5th edition is probably a better place for you to stay. But if you like to have the rule there to look at, and then, okay, maybe I was going to give him +5, maybe I shouldn't give him +2. It's there to use if you want it.
I call it a deeper experience where 5e anything can happen, you can use anything to do just about anything. Because Pathfinder's more what's the word? Anchored to the rules. I think it makes it a deeper, more. I would be more connected to it possibly, but it's just a more strategic, more thought-filled thing.
And that's first episode from Fuck Off Jordan. Fuck Off Jordan Productions. Top True Production.
Make sure to follow, subscribe, whatever. This will hopefully be on all podcast platforms, YouTube. And it's right here on Twitch. I don't know if we'll do it. I'm thinking we'll start off doing it maybe bi-weekly, every other week. We'll do a podcast episode, and then if you guys like it, we'll try and do more. But yeah, stick around if you're in the chat, because we're gonna start playing D&D right now.
Do you have your Twitter info on there?
It's on the channel.
Send him suggestions on topics on Twitter.
Right. I'll talk about anything for as long as you want.
Names of the channel, so suggestions for names of the channel. I'll start a poll. But we don't have many followers on Twitter, but I'll try and bring some traffic to it to vote on names. So we'll have to come up with some actual options for people to vote. Or just have them enter custom options for them and just take whatever the top one is. Penis.
That's gotta be penis.
Anyways, we'll be right back. Give us 5-10 minutes and we'll start playing D&D. We gotta go fetch Lauren. We didn't allow her on the podcast.
Well, probably should have named it. Everyone but Lauren.
Alright.
That's what I said.
Let's get back.
This was funny. They told me to fuck myself. See? This is why things happen.